Okay, so today we're going to be making beef bourguignon. It's really tender. It's going to be full of flavor. Makes plenty enough to share, and it's not as difficult as most people think. So I've got everything that you need here to make the beef bourguignon. You need a really good red wine, so I chose this 13th Colony Cabernet Franc. Some mushrooms, carrots, fresh parsley and garlic, fresh onion. Instead of serving it over rice, I'm going to serve it over riced cauliflower to make it a little bit more healthy or a little bit less carbs, because we are going to have potatoes in it and carrots. So 2 different types of potatoes. We've got red baby and golden yellow. You've got your bacon bits, chicken broth, and of course your beef stew. So get you some fresh butter, some onion, and you've pretty much got everything that you need to make this really flavorful dish. Diced up a quarter of a white onion. Now this onion was as big as my hand, so that's why it looks like there's a lot when I say a quarter, but it was a really big white onion. I've also diced up 3 cloves of garlic. Now I've got 4 tablespoons of butter melting in my pot, to which I'm going to add the garlic and the diced onion. I want to saute them until the onions are translucent and glistening. Okay, so we're going to toss around the onions and the garlic and the butter until we get a nice tender onion, and it's going to be translucent in color. So stay tuned. Okay, so you can see that the onions are cooking up with the garlic. You want to make sure you stir them often because you don't want the onions to burn. But they're starting to turn that translucent kind of color. So we'll let them cook for just a few more minutes, and then we'll head to the next step of this savory dish. Okay, so our onions are done. I've added the stew beef in, and I've covered the stew beef with salt and pepper. You want to cook the stew beef until it's pretty much brown on the outside. It doesn't have to be done all the way through, because this is going to slow cook for about 4.5 hours. So don't worry about it. Just give it kind of a good outer coating. Get it a little brown on the outside. And then we're going to add some bacon into this mixture once the meat is brown. And who doesn't love bacon? If you don't like bacon, then you can simply just leave the bacon out. But it's just an option. It gives it additional really good flavor in this beef bourguignon. Okay, so you can see the meat is starting to brown, so we're going to add the bacon bits in there. Now the recipe originally calls for 5 strips of bacon, but if you've seen the price of bacon, you know it's really expensive. So what I've begun to do is I basically just use bacon bits. You can see I didn't spare any expense. It's Great Value brand. And what I do is I'm going to add roughly about a half a cup of bacon bits into the mix. So I've got about a half a cup of bacon bits in there, and we're going to just incorporate that into the beef. Now I've got it cooking over about a medium heat. Just make sure it's stirred around really good. Make sure everything's really well incorporated. Now at this stage, you want to add a cup of red wine into our mixture. Red wine's going to give it a really good flavor. Now don't worry, the alcohol is going to cook off. But again, I've used this 13th Colony Cabernet Franc. It's a really good wine. I think it's really going to give it a nice flavor. So I'm going to add that into there. And I'm going to give that a toss. And I'm going to let the meat and the bacon cook in with this wine for just a few minutes. Okay, so this has been cooking in the red wine for just a few minutes, and I can't tell you how good this smells. You can smell the red wine, the bacon. I mean, it's just really all coming together. So now what I want to do is I want to add 2 cups of chicken broth into the mix. I buy just the basic brand. You don't have to buy organic. I try to buy organic whenever I can. But I'm going to add 2 cups of chicken broth into the mix. And we're going to let this cook for just a minute. Okay, to our mix now, we are going to add an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. And we're going to add a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. Now, I prefer to use the Kikkoman less sodium soy sauce just because you're already going to have a lot of salt in there in the bacon, and you're adding salt anyway to the meat, so you don't want it to get too salty. And soy sauce has a tendency to be very salty. So let's get this in here, stir it all up. Oh, I can't tell y'all how good this smells, my gosh. Okay, get it all incorporated. And what I didn't say, and I forgot to tell everyone, is that this is about 2.5 to 3 pounds of beef stew cooking in here. So roughly, depending on whether you get one of the big packs, I had to get 2 small packs in order to make that much. To the mixture, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of flour. If you don't have flour, you can use cornstarch, but you want to make sure that you have a whisk, and you want to slowly whisk it in to the mixture. What I like to do is basically just kind of take it, tap a little in, and whisk that into the mix. Do that until you get the full 1/4 cup of flour incorporated into the mixture. It's better to use a whisk because you can help start breaking down the flour bits. Now, if you have some chunks of flour in there, it's no big deal. It's going to cook down as you go. Okay, so we've incorporated the flour into the mixture, and as you can see, the sauce itself is a lot thicker than what it was. It's not thick like a gravy, which is, we don't want it thick like a gravy right at this moment. It will thicken up as it cooks. Now, we're going to cook this for 4.5 hours when we're done, so the sauce will thicken up. But right now, you can already see just with that little bit, it started thickening up. Okay, to our mixture, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of fresh thyme. I buy this at the store. It comes in a container, and it's just, fresh herbs that you can get in the produce section. All you need to do is basically just kind of tear it off the stems here. So this ought to be interesting with me trying to do this holding the camera. But you just want to take your fingers, hold the stem, and basically just kind of push down. And you can see that it basically just kind of falls off the stem. So if you pull it away from the way that it grows, it'll come right off. So you want about 2 tablespoons of thyme that we're going to add into our mixture. Alright, so I've got my ground thyme. I'm going to add that into my mix. And if you don't, fresh thyme, I'm sorry, but if you don't have fresh thyme, then yes, you can use ground thyme. Fresh thyme just has a lot more flavor. The ground seasonings are good. They're not going to be as flavorful naturally as the fresh one. Okay, to our mixture, we're going to add a combination of red and golden potatoes. You can use whatever potato you want, but you want to get the baby potatoes. And they're over in the produce section as well. So gently add so it doesn't splash on you. Add your potatoes into your pot. Let's get that all tossed in there. And we're going to add some carrots. Now I added roughly about a pound of potatoes. You could add some more if you want, if you like more potatoes in there. It's going to be full anyways, so I added roughly about a pound. Now I'm going to add 12 ounces of carrots, and what I do is I basically buy these little sweet petites. You can get a big carrot and just do it, slice it up, cut it up, but this is so much easier. You just get the little baby carrots, and then all you've got to do basically is just kind of just dump them into your mix. It's just so much easier than having to sit and peel them and cutting them up yourself. Okay, so we're going to get those in there. And I'm probably eventually going to add a few more potatoes in here just to add a little extra. You're also going to add 8 ounces of mushrooms. Now I'm adding in baby portobello mushrooms. It's one of my favorite mushrooms. So I'm going to add those in there. If you don't like mushrooms, don't add them. You know, I've seen people kind of make this who didn't like a lot of vegetables and stuff, basically do it with beef and potatoes. So they've done the beef bourguignon literally with just beef and potatoes. So let's get this well incorporated into here, and let's keep it going. Okay, so all the vegetables are in, the meat's in, everything's good. I added about a half a cup of chicken broth just to give it a little extra juice. Now this is going to slow cook for about 4 hours. But I mean, look at this. You've got all those yummy vegetables, the beef, the potatoes, the mushrooms. I can't tell you how good this smells right now. So we're going to cook this on low for about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. This is one of those dishes that you can mix up and basically just walk away and do what you got to do around the house. Get your laundry done, clean the house, whatever. Just come by every now and then. Give it a good stir just to make sure that, you know, nothing is sticking to the bottom. But other than that, I mean, when this is done, oh my gosh, it's going to be marinated in this great gravy juice that it makes. The potatoes will be cooked. It'll be nice and tender. The beef will virtually just melt in your mouth like butter. So I'm going to go ahead and post this video. We're going to put a lid on it, cover it up, and let it cook for about 4.5 hours. But this is beef bourguignon. It's simple, easy, and full of flavor. Everybody will think you slaved over it all day. And while it cooks half the day, or at least for 4.5 hours, you're not going to have to worry about it. It's one of those set it and forget it dishes, and those are my favorite kinds. So I'll post a picture of this yummy goodness later on this evening when it's done. But until then, hope you enjoy. We're going to call that a wrap. My mother is diabetic, so she has to cut back on carbs. Now, you've got potatoes and carrots already in this dish, so there are carbs already in there. So a great way, this dish is normally served over mashed potatoes or rice. What I do is I buy this cauliflower rice, and it's low carb, and you can see, I mean, it looks just like rice. So we'll eat the beef bourguignon over that tonight. It's a great little substitute because, like I said, you're already going to have carbs in the dish itself between the carrots and the potatoes. But this is a great way to kind of cut back because rice and mashed potatoes have plenty of carbs in them as it is. So you don't want to take a dish that has carbs in it and serve it over another carb-packed dish. So this is a great way to cut back. And you can buy these in the freezer section of your local grocery store. Look at all that goodness. This is great. Now, it'll take you about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes to put it all together, get everything together and mixed in the pot. And then, like I said, you will let it cook for about 4.5 hours on low heat, about between low and medium. You don't want it boiling, so you want it to basically sit here and simmer in its own juices so everything basically gets tender. Okay, so that's going to be a wrap of this recipe. Again, we're making slow-cooked beef bourguignon. If you like the videos better than just posting the picture and the recipe, let me know. I'll go either direction that you guys like. If you continue to like just the pictures with the recipe, that's fine. I just kind of thought I'd try the video because it kind of lets you see step by step how I do things and how it all comes together. So thanks for being excited about my food. I'm a foodie and I just love to cook and eat. So it's great that you guys want to follow me and see the dishes and hopefully cook some. If you guys cook some of these dishes, please, by all means, post a picture of your finished dish and let me see it. Have a good day.